Welcome to the Financial Rebellion podcast. I'm your host, Todd Romer. We started this podcast for two specific reasons. Number one, to inspire you to start a side hustle and make some extra income. Or perhaps take that side hustle and turn it into a full-time business, like some of our guests have done already. The second reason we started the podcast is because we're big fans of credit unions, and we have worked with credit unions around the country to help them drive awareness and new membership growth amongst younger generations. Frankly, with a credit union, you can do a lot of what we teach about money the Financial Rebellion way. So let's get into this episode of Financial Rebellion. Welcome to this episode of Financial Rebellion. Excited to have Matt Morizio on the podcast today. We have only emailed each other, Matt, and I know this is going to be fun because we are super aligned with a lot of things that we are excited about. Before I get into talking to Matt, though, I want to say we are so thankful and grateful. We are sponsored by the credit union industry. We basically help credit unions stand out significantly to go, wait a minute, I didn't know that a credit union is like a bank. And wait a minute, I didn't know a credit union can actually help me do my banking services potentially better in the Financial Rebellion way. So that's our sponsor out of the gate. Matt, welcome to Financial Rebellion.
Man, Todd, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be sharing this seat on your show.
Oh, well, right back at you. And you come from one of my favorite cities in the U.S. of A., and that is Charleston, South Carolina. Matt, before we get into some questions about your business, this is, again, Financial Rebellion. We do talk about money, certainly. We talk about how to overcome money stuff, how to do it differently, how to be financially rebellious, how to investing is a super big interest of our market that we reach around the country. But this is kind of more about entrepreneurship, side hustle, small business, and how we're going to talk about your business called Reconstructing Wealth. Love the name. But before we get into that, we always do the icebreaker. Tell us, what was one of your dumbest or worst money moves that you made in the past or as recent as this morning?
Thankfully not this morning, but I haven't had an opportunity really yet. I've been just basically in the office. Okay, so for me, it's the old saying of fooled me once, shame on you, fooled me twice, shame on me. I have not once, but twice invested thousands and thousands of dollars. If it's approaching $10,000 probably at this point of money in what sounded like incredible marketing opportunities for my business. One was, well, I don't have to get into who it was and what it was about, but both of them sounded like, okay, this time they get me. They understand what I'm looking for, what I'm about. They have the pedigree, the access, the knowledge that's going to get me into something that I wasn't able to do on my own. And I returned a big old goose egg so far on all of those marketing dollars. So really the first one, I'm not going to say is my worst money move. The second one, after being fooled the first time, going back to the well, only to just get fooled again. That's the shame on me. That's so far probably some of the worst money move, because you know why? Aside from learning, like maybe I shouldn't do that again, there's not a lot I can recoup from that. In almost all failures I've had, there's a lesson or two. There's things I can pull and from it that says it's not a loss completely because I'm actually more informed, more educated. I'm better for the future. These are just, it's hard to pull much of anything out of these because I really didn't learn much in the process. No matter how many questions I asked, I just didn't, I'm not any smarter after the losses.
I can totally relate. And because this is a podcast about small business owners, entrepreneurship, side hustles, again, everybody, including myself, has done almost identical to what you have said. So, all right, what's your best money move that you've made in the past or as recent as this morning?
Well, the best money move, and this is classic entrepreneurial life cliche, to be honest, but it's the truth. So I'm going to share my truth. the best money move actually didn't necessarily return me the most money immediately. But for me, it was, and it sounds ridiculous, but it was really going all in on launching Reconstructing Wealth, really launching this advisory practice at first. I was an employee underneath a firm building my own practice at first. And then now I'm fully independent. I'm my own business owner now. Not affiliated to anybody, but actually like dumping everything I had into building this thing. And that also includes, the taboo topic in my world of credit cards and all the things, really burning the boats to go all in so far and for the foreseeable future, like things that I have on the horizon, is turning into the best money move, even though it's the scariest and on paper at first, the worst looking money move I've ever made.
Yeah. Sounds like an episode of Shark Tank where
Hmm.
the sharks look at someone like, you put all of your money, but I totally understand that. And it's
Yeah,
fun. It's scary. So you're already hitting
it is.
on something that every entrepreneur experiences. Fear is completely natural, right? With any human being. It accelerates with starting your business. So tell me about reconstructing wealth and what you do. And then I'm going to take you back to your past a little bit for when you started that.
Cool.
So tell us
Yeah.
about reconstructing wealth as a whole. What is the mission of reconstructing wealth, your business?
All right. The firm is it's called a registered investment advisor, which is industry language for it's an independent investing firm, investing, financial planning, helping people build roadmaps and invest their money accordingly to get where they're trying to go. Like the other 315,000 advisors in the country that do that. The name Reconstructing Wealth, the reason I named it that is because I've had at this point thousands and thousands of conversations with people about their money. And I have learned on varying degrees of the spectrum, we all have some version of jacked up relationship with our finances. Some better than others. Myself, I was on the not so good camp for a long time in my life, 30 plus years to be quite honest. But I have learned how to change my relationship with money through education, really learning how the game of money works, and learning that giving it away actually has rewired my subconscious relationship with it. That wasn't intentional, by the way. It just sort of happened. But understanding like the freedom that comes with when you keep money with open hands as opposed to closed fists, that has totally changed and transformed my entire life. It probably allowed me to go all in on my business the way I did. I launched this thing at 40 years old with 7 children. Now I'm having my 8th child. So this not poster boy stuff for entrepreneurship, but because I have a healthy relationship with money, I was able to probably take that what is a perceived crazy risk with a little bit more confidence because I know how it works. Um, and I realize if I am more present at home, I'm a better father, I'm a better husband, I carry less emotional baggage with me everywhere I go. And if I can do that for me, and I know how my children are now growing up relating to money, if I can do that for other people, I can change their family lineage the same way I'm changing mine. And if I can change enough generational trees, then I think the ripple effect can be unquantifiable. Quite literally feels like we could change the world if we can change the way our generation views and uses money. So that's why I called it reconstructing wealth, because I want to reconstruct people's relationships with money from the inside out.
Fantastic name and description. That's why I was excited to have you on this podcast. We are aligned quite a bit.
Thank you. Yeah,
Quite a
no
bit.
kidding. Yeah, you're
Sounds
not joking.
personal. I'm assuming faith is important to you because if you don't have faith, then yeah, that's good luck with that, right? Seven
Yeah.
children starting a business, started the same business with young kids too back in the day, and
Yep.
that's great. I love everything that you said there. So take us
Thanks.
back though to say 18 to 25, maybe your 20s. What was your relationship with money? Then what was your upbringing? What did you think about money? What did you think about yourself? You were also your background. You played college baseball. Correct me if I'm wrong. For Northeastern University,
You got it. Yep.
and then was in the Kansas City Royals baseball, Major League Baseball system.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that, but then really about your relationship with money through those experiences and just how where you were and now your new view of money.
Yeah, I grew up, well, as a child, I learned, now I guess flip that. As a parent, I'm recognizing it, but more is caught than taught with children oftentimes. And because money is such a taboo topic, I didn't speak about it in my house, and most families I'm learning don't speak about it in their house. So as a child, I didn't have conversations about money. The only things I learned about money was the anxiety and worry and fear that was projected on me when I didn't turn the heat down in the winter in Boston. Like if I didn't turn the heat down leaving my house, oil heat's expensive, and I got an earful for not turning the heat down. Way worse than like if I got bad grades in school. It was a problem, and I caught that relationship from my mom primarily. My parents were divorced, so I spent a lot of my time with her, and that's kind of how I learned to look at money. Like it is a scarce resource. If you've got it, you have to hoard it, hold on to it, be stingy with it, because who knows how much more you can get of it. That's kind of like, I suppose, my subconscious, what was sort of planted in me, what seeds were planted in me. um and then, as a pro athlete, baseball player, unless you're the first couple round draft pick, you don't really sign for any money. I signed in the 17th round as a senior. As a senior in college, I don't have any other leverage. If I don't sign then, I'm not going to go play longer and get a better opportunity. Basically, the teams know this, and they're like, "Well, you're a senior in college, so do you want to play or not?" So you don't have a lot of leverage from at the negotiating table. So 17th out of 50 rounds, I signed for $7,000 in a plane ticket, which was enough to pay off a little bit of student loans and
Yeah.
throw a pretty cool bachelor party for my brother, and then there goes all my money. Um, but I was among guys who signed for $7 million and $5 million. Like they signed for big money. But the thing is, they were high school students weeks prior, and now here they are, multi-millionaires. It's not like they learned how the game of money worked overnight. They just happen to have a lot more zeros in their bank account, but they still didn't understand anything. None of us did. But that scarcity, fear driven, worried mindset around money served me quite well, because in the minor leagues, after you sign your signing bonus, we all go to the same teams and get, it's like it is a union. You've probably heard of the MLB players union.
Yep.
NFL has
Yep.
it. We're union just like plumbers or you know mechanics maybe. We're assigned a level and a certain pay associated with that level. Just so happens my first paycheck was $600 every 2 weeks after taxes, and I get paid while I'm in season, which is 5.5 months of the year. So if you do that math, that's a four-figure salary for anybody counting, sub $10,000 annual number. So learning to squeeze a quarter out of a nickel actually was a pretty valuable skill. So I never actually realized how unhealthy my mindset was around money, because I was in this scarcity mindset. I mean, this scarcity life about money. I had to sleep on people's couches and figure out how to find off-season jobs just to scrape a nickel. I was a Cutco knife salesman, and I did snow plowing, and I did substitute teaching. I did all kinds of things, but that was who I was, and that's what I had to do. And it was not until you fast forward literally to my mid 30s or early 30s getting into this industry that I realized, wow, there is a different way to look at money and learn about money. And since then, I've really transformed my relationship with it. But I want anybody hearing this to know that I grew up very afraid, very fearful, not knowingly fearful. It was a more of like a scarcity, hoard, keep tightly clenched fist mindset around money, because I thought you had to, because I thought that's how you're supposed to behave with money.
There's not one person listening or watching that cannot relate to what you said. I just know it. And because
Yeah.
we hear it around the country. of how we were brought up. We call it the money DNA that we all had based on what we saw growing up between the age of 10 to 18.
Yeah.
And it's not a right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just what we saw, what we experienced. Some have whatever good money DNA. I thought I go to college at University of Dayton. I'm like watching the stock market from in between classes, and everyone's like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh,
That's
I
funny.
I own like 5 or 6 stocks and some mutual funds." They're like, What? Really?" I'm like, "You're not doing this?" No. Oh, okay. Um, but then I had my other issues around money too that we all have. So, okay, your upbringing then led you through the dream of trying to be professional, being a professional baseball player.
Yep.
Then that came to a halt at some point. Then it
Yep.
sounds like you got into the investment services world with an employer because what actually what drew you to that world of getting into that space right after baseball, if that's correct?
Yeah, I actually there was one stop at a finance staffing firm in between that. It's called K4
Okay.
Staffing, Finance and Accounting Staffing. So I was helping people find temporary finance and accounting jobs first. And did that for about 4.5 years. So that was like the gap between baseball and wealth management where I am now. I went, and the reason is when I got released, which is baseball's kind way of saying fired. When I got fired from baseball, I had to finish my degree first at Northeastern because I left early to go play. And in that time, finishing my degree, we got pregnant with our first child. We had just gotten married months prior to that. So, like, we're still in the early phase of marriage. And all of a sudden, now we're having a baby. And now I don't have a job and I'm finishing my degree. And then the baby comes and I still don't have a job. And I'm the sole provider without a job and a brand new grad resume. So, out of necessity, I went to this staffing firm because I'm like, I have no network of people to introduce me to people, and I have no robust resume that's getting me in any doors. So I need you, staffing firm, to help play matchmaker, which is your business model. Help me get in front of somebody because I think I'll do okay once I'm there, but I can't get there through the online portals, submitting my resume through a job application. And the interview with the staffing firm to be placed with a client apparently went so well that they actually asked me to work for them instead of get placed with one of their clients. So I needed a job and I needed to learn sales and I needed to make some money. So this sounded like a good opportunity because I didn't have to get on a plane to travel. And I knew I wanted to come home at night because I had my first child. I didn't want to be not seeing him. So I was just finding CFOs, VPs of finance, investment finance people, anybody that had a hiring capacity in greater Boston for 4.5 years. My job was for them to know me and like me better than any other staffing person. That's it. Because most of the time, when they needed a temporary accountant or a temporary finance professional, it was because somebody left and they were too busy to figure out how to find a full time replacement and they just needed help immediately to plug the gap, basically. And my job was to get that first phone call. So we had a first crack at filling that gap for them. Uh, Ultimately, I learned that it was not going to be a long term career for me. But in all of the KPIs, it was a big $1 billion publicly traded company. I had to make $100 a day. I had to meet 10 people or 12 people in person per week. That was the goal. These are the KPIs, the metrics I had to hit. In all of those in person meetings, I actually met Ben Beck is his name. He's the founder of the firm I used to work for. Over coffee, I was just checking a box, to be quite honest, of 10. I had to meet 10 every week so that the big guys could stay off my back and I could just keep selling.
Yeah.
So I had no intention of anything beyond checking a box with this guy. But in our coffee, kind of like staffing, he was like, "Hey, you would be pretty good in wealth management, I think, if you ever wanted to give it a shot." And at first, I respectfully declined. So, because I had met some advisors as an athlete, kind of courted by a few, thinking I'd make the big leagues and make a bunch of money one day, which jokes on them, I never did. But I got to learn how they did what they did, sort of. I got to hear it at least. I didn't understand it. And then in finance staffing, I got to know a bunch of advisors just because of the nature of my business. And all of them sounded the same. And I already knew I sounded the same as all the other staffing people. I was just trying to get them to like me more. but I didn't necessarily want a career in being liked the most. I wanted to actually add some real value to people that they maybe couldn't get on their own. So I just saw that transition from staffing, where I had to just be liked more than any other staffing person, into financial advising, where I found it the same as like taking one hat off and putting the other on. But at the end of the day, again, they just had to like me the most because I was going to sound the same as everybody else. And I didn't want that in a career. So I said no. Eventually, he mailed me a book called Dancing with the Analysts by David Malik, because it explained to a T their growth strategy for investing. And he's like, if you want to learn how we do it, read this book and you'll know. And I read it and I really liked it. And I leaned on my network to do sort of backdoor informational references and like, hey, how does this work? All to say, here I am a decade or so later, launching my own business, running those same strategies that I've ran since day one, because they are individual equities. They're not, set it and forget it in a bunch of funds and we'll meet once a year type approach. So I really fell in love with that because it was different and is different. So that's how I really got into it, kind of reluctantly,
Wow.
but really
Wow.
grateful, because now it feels like a calling more than a career at this point.
That's fantastic. Okay, so as we're getting close to the end here, got two questions for you. One, when you transition into reconstructing wealth, what was it that you said, wait a minute, I can do this? And what was it that book? Was it someone, was it a person? Was it your wife? Was it who kind of gave you the final let's go?
Um, my wife had been, without her, I could not do this. So she had been supportive for quite a while, trying to actually like encourage me to do it, probably for years before I actually did. Um, a couple things I will say, like I was always pretty prayerful about it, because we talked earlier, my faith's important. I never wanted to jump ahead of God's plan. So I didn't want to go run and drive the bus. I wanted to make sure that I was obedient in what I was trying, where I was supposed to be going. So I was prayerful in it, and I really felt like, oh man, this thing's stirring inside me. Like I had this tug on my heart, like, oh man, I think it's time to launch. And I say that, oh man, like that, because I had just had my seventh child. It didn't feel like an opportune time. Um, and then I would say the person who was really the straw that broke the camel's back, his name is Nate. He's become an amazing friend, mentor, partner, investor. I mean, he's a lot of things with me. And he was the one that said, hey, look, let's figure this out together, because I really believe in you. You should do this. And if it's a money problem, let's solve the money problem. If it's a timing problem, let's solve the timing problem. Let's just figure out what your problem is and let's solve it. And ultimately, he kind of really, really was the one that made me say, okay, I got to do this.
Okay, so I just heard from your friend Nate. You've got let's solve the problem, money problem or
Yep,
time problem. Let's just solve that. I can't say I've really heard that much before, but that's really direct to the point. Let's just go straight to the elephant in the room, if you will, and let's tackle it. That's really cool.
I
So it
loved it.
sounds like you have a great mentor friend.
Yeah,
Okay, what would you say? And I know you could speak forever,
yeah. I'll
but
try
we
not to.
can't do that. No, not you've been fantastic. Someone is on, I get this around the country. There are people that are watching that like to help people. There are people that say, God, I would love to teach money too. I didn't know that I could do this. I came from this kind of background. I I get it all the time.
Hmm.
Young people who are 20, 22, 25, 30. How can I do what you do? What would you say to them when it comes to maybe going down the road of a whatever financial coach, financial advisor, wealth advisor? Because they're dealing with the same doubt as if they wanted to. Do I have what it takes to go into computer software? It doesn't matter. It's the same doubts and fears. What would you say to somebody who really wants to change their family financial tree because they've heard some really cool things from Financial Rebellion and now they want to take it out to the masses? What would you say to those people that could do something like you?
And they want to get into my world. You're saying they want to get into the wealth
Yep.
management, financial advising world.
Helping people reconstruct their wealth, if you will, like your business, because there's a lot that want to help people that are struggling as well.
That's awesome. First off, I would say you can do it. I think the myth that I need to bust about my industry is that it is possible. You don't need a pedigree in Ivy League schools with a parent and grandparent and great grandparent that all went and attended and studied economics. And I used to think that that was how you got to be a financial advisor and how you got to be great in, quote unquote, high finance. You don't need that. I'm a walking testimony to that. And that would lead me to my second point to these people, that I would say, you, or me being a walking testimony, your truth is undeniable because it's true to you. It may not always work for other people, but if it is your truth, then you can share that with 100% confidence, saying it worked for you. And if it works for other people, they will gravitate toward it. So I would encourage people to understand what it is about you and your story that really makes you want to go and teach and help other people with it. And then get really good at telling that story and telling the transformation in your life, the before and after, as a result of that story. Because nobody can argue with you that your life has changed as a result of that, because it's your truth. And you're the only one that can be as good as you, be you as good as you can be at being yourself, right? Like nobody else can be you as good as you can be you. So get really great at understanding you and your story, and then go tell that story to everybody you know and see how it hits.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Matt. Okay, for those who want to know how to get a hold of you or to learn more about reconstructing wealth, how can they do that?
Yeah, well, it's my website is reconstructingwealth.com. You can find me and the business and things about what we stand for there. You can also follow me on Instagram. And I will say, if anybody listens to this and they want a copy of that book, because it's been such an impactful read in my life, and it's quite literally changed the trajectory of my life when I read that book. And I'm not saying, again, my truth, I'm not saying it's going to change the trajectory of your life, but it has such a meaning for me that if anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, it's just my name, at Matt Morizio. Send me a DM that you heard this show and you would love a copy of that book. I will willingly just mail you a copy of the book, no strings attached. It's not a bait and switch. I'm not going to ask you to become a client or anything like that, because the education has been so transformative for me, because there was, on the other side of that book, there was an opportunity. Like I said, I'm not saying that there is one for anybody else reading, but I want to pass that knowledge on. So I'm happy to share a copy with anybody who's listening that wants to read.
That's great. Love your commentary earlier about hands open instead of hands closed with how you have your relationship with money. And that's something that I've been working through for years myself, and it is much more freeing when the hands are open. So I get you 100%.
Yeah.
Well, this is the finale of this episode of Financial Rebellion, again brought to you by the credit union industry, the world. We basically help credit unions differentiate themselves from traditional banks so people can become financially rebellious with their money through credit unions. Matt Morizio, thank you for joining the podcast today, and we look forward to having you again soon, because we could talk a lot more.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We just scratched the surface, Todd. Thanks for having me here. It was an honor to be on your show.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody, for listening and viewing. We will see you in the next episode of Financial Rebellion.